Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a comparison that was inevitable. The brand new A6400 from Sony with the RX100 Mark VI. Now, of course, these are very different cameras, the Mark VI being a point-and-shoot cyber shot, of course, the cream of the crop of the RX100 family. The A6400, on the other hand, an interchangeable lens APS-C mirrorless camera that really does have a lot more flexibility and capability. But the reason that I'm sharing this comparison is because, well, frankly, I have both of them at my disposal. So anyone curious, you're going to get your question answered. That's the idea with all of my videos. Also, the reason is their price is incredibly close. And while there are so many people out there saying, oh, bless the A6400, I love it, best in class autofocus, the ability to have a selfie screen so I can shoot myself, that sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. Unlimited recording time, HLG, so you've got more than just S-Log, which, by the way, the little RX100 Mark VI has, as well as pretty much best-in-class everything in the APS-C realm. The only thing it doesn't have is in-body image stabilization, like the A6500. So from a autofocus standpoint, it's real-time tracking autofocus and eye autofocus, as well as facial detection is just fantastic. I mean, it's going to improve your keepers whether you know how to use a camera or not. Let me just put it that way. But while so many of you out there think, oh, this camera was designed for vloggers, for YouTubers, for content creators, newsflash, Sony makes cameras for everybody. They don't want the identity, even if they've pitched this as a vlog and content creation tool, they do not want it to be relegated to a single identity. And they certainly know that hobbyists, enthusiasts, pros, all alike are going to be drawn to this camera. And the same exact mantra idea applies to the RX100 Mark VI. And the reason I'm comparing them is that I did compare the A6400 to the RX10 Mark IV. A lot of people were interested in that. And this seems like a logical comparison because at $899 body alone, as opposed to, I believe we're sitting at $1,200 for the RX100 Mark VI, and it'll likely go on sale. That's another thing. So these are only going to get closer in price, but bear in mind you will need to pick up a lens. And if you do go with the kit you're looking at here, you will be spending a cool $1,300 US just to pick this up. So you've already spent more than what you would on this point and shoot. And the question is, do you really need it? So that's really what today's video is all about. Those of you who know the A6400 checks all your boxes because you need that autofocus system. You love that they added HLG. You love that it's got the flip around selfie screen that no, mirrorless interchangeable lens camera from Sony ever had. You're going to be sold on this. No question about it. Even if it doesn't have a headphone jack, all right? That's not going to be the game breaker for you. However, if you're an average, like I said, hobbyist, enthusiast, you got to take a long look at this and decide, do I really, in spite of all of the great things this camera has to offer, because that other group of people that I was just mentioning, those are the people who say, Ed, I don't care if it has in-body image stabilization. As long as my lens is stabilized, or even if it's not and I've got a gimbal, who cares? I mean, the rolling shutter is what it is. I'll live with it. It doesn't matter. It's a best-in-class camera, ounce for ounce, at $900 US before you add anything to actually use it. Granted, I completely agree. However, if you're the average consumer and you walk into a store like Worst Buy, aka Best Buy, my favorite, a salesman isn't going to necessarily tell you that, well, what are you looking for? I really want to find what you need. And look, I'm not a salesman. You all know that. I put links into Amazon. If you buy it, great. If not, it is what it is, right? I'm certainly doing this for the love of the game. If those of you don't realize that at 31 million plus views and only 68,000 plus subs, it's for the love of the game, folks. The RX100 Mark VI is arguably one of my favorite cameras, and that's because it's a go-everywhere photographic tool. It does also have that flip-around display. It does shoot 4K, but you're limited to 5 minutes. Yes, that is an issue, but remember, most human beings aren't trying to film, a recital or, something that you would traditionally need a video camera for. Most people aren't making a movie. Most people are not worried about B-roll footage. Those people get the A6400. Nothing to talk about. But for the average person that wants a great camera and they know their budget is somewhere between, close to $1,000, you've got an EVF here. That's another thing. So if you were wondering, where's the EVF? You've got that. You also have a flash. Now, you don't have a hot shoe, so that is one thing you will give up. But again, form factor, baby. Look at the size of this. I mean, putting them side by side, if you're traveling anywhere in the world, going to Europe, this thing will go with you everywhere. And I got to tell you, even though this uses a W series battery and this uses, this is a problem they both share in common, is battery type. We have not moved forward in the world of batteries. I mean, the MPBX1 and the W series battery are both pretty paltry at best. I mean, you're not going to get incredible battery life out of either of these. The reason this is limited to 5 minutes of 4K video is overheating. They both have the ability, of course, to shoot at high frame rates. So if you want to do 120 frames per second, you could do that. This does have on-sensor phase detection. So again, similar autofocus capability, but not in the class of the A6400, which not only has, the brawn, but the brains. And that's where the real-time autofocus tracking, very similar to what you'll find in that firmware update for the A9, Sony's most expensive full-frame camera, it shares in common with that. This does not have that, but still has best-in-class autofocus capability for a point-and-shoot camera. And there's a lot to be said for that. So really what this boils down to is that if you're looking for the best camera that money can buy in this realm and you don't have a specific purpose, if it's just a travel camera and you do want to have UHD video, I got to recommend the RX100, believe it or not, because they're so close in price, and also the Zeiss lens you're getting here is giving you 200 millimeters in reach. We don't have that here. And yes, I know I could get into the crop factor. I'm not doing that, because anyone who's thinking about a point and shoot doesn't even know what crop factor is necessarily. That's not an insult. It's just a fact. And so knowing ahead of time that both of these, you've got a 35 millimeter equivalency of 18 to 135 with this $1,300 kit, and here you've got 24 to 200 millimeters, and it's all done. All you got to do is pick up some extra batteries. It's pretty compelling. And this is not a sales pitch for the RX100 Mark VI, because again, if you plan to do more than just use this as the best camera you can fit in your pocket, then you got to lean towards the A6400. But keep in mind, they do share a lot in common, despite the fact that one is a fixed point-and-shoot lens camera with a 1-inch sensor, and the other is a mirrorless interchangeable APS-C 24 megapixel censored camera. Also, inherently, the A6400 will only become more expensive. Do know that in advance, because you will likely end up getting more lenses. I highly doubt that when you buy this that you'll only want to live with this. You may want to get the 10 to 18. It's my favorite wide angle for the E-mount native APS-C. So a lot of things to take into account. But again, just looking at that form factor, it's bonkers, folks. I mean, when you think about it, and that's why I keep reiterating, this is about budget. This is about what do you plan on doing with the camera? Because those of you that know you need the A6400, you're not going to compare these. But those of you who are coming up to me and saying, well, what's the best camera I could get for around $1,000? That's where I'm going to start to have this discussion with you. How much do you care about interchangeable lenses? Do you want them, or do you want to get rid of them? How much do you care about that video recording limitation that doesn't exist here, but exists here? Because again, for most people, 5 minutes is far more than enough for casual shooting. I mean, that's enough to put a lot of people to sleep. So unless you're using this specifically for video production, this is going to be fine, the 5 minutes. They both have beautiful OLED EVFs. So that's not really an issue. In terms of the I/O ports, I mean, they're pretty close too. I mean, yes, this doesn't have a microphone jack, but it does have, HDMI out, as well as Sony's multi-port right there. So the only real difference on that side is that this does have a microphone jack, which again tells you something about the class. Battery life, very similar. Flash, very similar. Really, the differentiating factors are form factor and sensor size. Touchscreen on board. But again, that real-time autofocus system here, it just doesn't live here. And don't get me wrong, the autofocus on here is the best that we've ever seen out of any RX100 camera to date. And that is a very good thing to brag about. It's just not in the same league as this camera, and that kind of should be a given, but the fact that Sony's done such a great job with the RX100 makes it not a given, and that's what's so interesting, and that's why I'm doing this comparison today, because, again, even though they're very different, their price isn't very different. And here you're out the door for that $1,200 US. Here at $900, you're just getting started unless you already have a collection of glass. And when it comes to convenience and travel, I think a lot of people tend to think bigger is better, which is not always the case, believe it or not. And also, interchangeable lenses is not always an advantage. I mean, for the average consumer, I think it's inherently a disadvantage. Instead of capturing the moment, they end up focusing on which lens is right. I'm going to try to figure this out. I got 3 lenses here. I'm going to switch over to a prime. This is not something that the average consumer wants. They just want results. And that's exactly what the RX100 delivers on. So again, real world differences. Besides, if we take, put aside the sensor size and all of that jazz, it really comes down to no video recording limitation here, video recording limitation here. Fixed lens, obviously, you could pick any lens you want, but please do stick to native E-mount APS-C lenses. I mean, you can also go into Sony's full-frame world. I brought out this bad boy last time. You can do that. This is part of the growth. You can go to a G Master and really blow your bank account to holy hell. You can do that. Can't do that with the RX100. That might be a benefit for a lot of you, especially if you plan on using the camera for 3 or 4 years. It's one of those things where, yes, the A6400 can live on with new glass. The RX100 won't become antiquated, but newer models will come out. I can say that for both of these very easily. They both have the flip around, selfie mode in tow. Both are compatible with Sony's selfie stick. Both have HLG. So for those of you looking for more than S-Log, you've got it. Although it is 8-bit on both of these. You will not get 10-bit HLG, aka HDR, out of either of these. So you will have to do that in post. It's not a native profile for those of you that are wondering. But video grading, yeah, you can do that with this little baby on the right. But when it comes to autofocus, that is where this camera does take it home. Just like it does against its other APS-C competitors, not just within the Sony family, but Canon, Nikon. That's where the A6400 really delivers a next-gen level of performance. When it comes to play memories, doesn't exist on either of these. Want to point that out. This does have a time-lapse feature built in, which is nice. It still requires post-production work. You will have to do something in post. It's not like the Play Memories app for $10 where it seamlessly put everything together. I also prefer the placement of the video record button here. I mean, if there's anything I would have liked to have seen Sony do away with, it's this side video record button. Come on, just move it to the center. Do that. You did it with the full frame. Let's make it happen in APS-C sometime in the not-so-distant future, please. But overall, either one of these cameras is a winner. You're going to be happy with what you take home. Of course, more dynamic range with the APS-C sensor than you get with a 1-inch sensor. You're not going to get the defocused backgrounds, all that buttery bokeh with the RX100. You'll still get it, but not like you can achieve with the A6400. And if you're not shooting sports, if you're not shooting, fast-moving subjects that require precision autofocus tracking, and you're going to mostly do landscape type stuff or, family portraits, stills, and by stills, I mean non-moving subjects, the RX100 is going to do a fantastic job. And don't forget, it still shoots, 24 frames per second? Granted, those aren't going to all be usable. Your hit rate will be higher with the A6400, as I've continued to repeat over and over again. But when it comes to battery life, they're pretty much a wash. So really, the standout feature for the A6400 between these two, of course, is its sensor size, dynamic range that comes with that. And then, of course, the fact that you can put a wide variety of native E-mount APS-C lenses on there, but it's really all about that autofocus. I've mentioned the recording limitations being a thing, but I believe for the consumers that are interested in this sort of comparison, that video recording limitation isn't a thing, which is why I'm comparing them in the first place. But again, at roughly the same cost, two very different cameras. But I'm telling you right now, you cannot go wrong with either of these. They are fantastic solutions, one being a point and shoot fixed lens, the other one being an interchangeable mirrorless APS-C. Both of them are winners. And I think they're also, get this, great complements for one another. If you're going on a trip, you want to take two cameras, you want to travel light, these are the two to have with you, because here you've got the smallest, highest quality, both still and video DI device, in my opinion, on the market. And then here, you really got the number two, because, yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but it's not the size of a digital SLR, certainly not the size of Sony's full frame lineup of cameras. But then you've got better, more dynamic capability with the APS-C sensor, paired with lenses of your choice in order to give you photographic flexibility that you can't get out of a point-and-shoot camera, and not at that much of a size increase. I mean, neither of these is going to give you fatigue, folks. That's the beauty of what Sony's been doing for years now. Whereas if you step up to something like an A7R Mark III with, my power zoom lens that I use by choice, even though it's a video lens, yeah, it's gonna give you some back problems. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna give you Canon or Nikon back problems, but it's gonna get there, especially if you pair it up with one of these. I mean, if this monster makes it, yeah, it's gonna be unruly. But again, two great cameras that I think inherently will be compared by the average consumer that's walking into a store and says, "I'm ready to spend $1,000. Why should I have this versus this?" So again, if simplicity is what you're after, go with the RX100. It'll go everywhere with you. You'll never miss a shot. I don't mean never. Again, hit rate's higher here, but this is always going to be more of an encumbrance to the average consumer. Then again, those of you who already know they want the A6400 because you already own an A6000 and you're looking to upgrade, or you tragically are upgrading from an A6300 or sideways grading from a 6500, you already know you want this camera. And you might already own an older gen RX100. But for those of you that are just stepping to the plate, trying to figure out what's what in a world of so many great options these days, even from Canon and Nikon, I give them credit where it's due, Panasonic as well. These are two of my favorites right now because they are worth it. What can I tell you? When it comes to fresh money being spent, you got two great devices here, both on the still and video side. Of course, the autofocus is what makes the 6400 a little bit magical. But then again, the footprint of the Mark VI makes it unlike anything else on the market, even Panasonic's comparable offerings. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.